The pandemic has forced us to be more creative, to find new ways to work. And I think we've done well to assemble a world-class team that is both local in content and international. Quayside is a wonderful opportunity to create what I think people want as a community today.
So we've all lived through these last couple of years with the pandemic. One thing that we've, I think, all come to realize is that there's a great desire for access to green spaces.
I think that this past 2 years have really reinforced that the built environment has to really attenuate itself much more closely to the importance of human life with plant life and the natural world.
Thinking about architecture in a manner that not only adds to the spaces for humans within cities, but also our relations, the wind, the rain.
Birds, bees,
sunlight, of water,
people to infrastructure, and making the best possible living condition for all.
The very word Toronto, forest by the water, an Indigenous word, and this location is really profoundly a place of meeting.
That was what led to our approach.
Bringing nature and planting and ecology, we hope that we're going to be creating a context.
To weave nature throughout.
It goes way beyond Indigenous principles of design. It goes into a value system.
I see a city as a mosaic of different qualities that allows citizens to experience many different environments and emotions.
Quayside offers the opportunity to create a collection of buildings coming together to create a destination, an identity for how Toronto can grow into the future. The Quayside site is a very skinny site with a very definite east-west linkage, and we've worked with that to create as much public space as possible on the site. And the way of doing that has been creating a boulevard building along Queen's Quay and towers that then face the Gardner.
Our proposal for Queen's Quay East is to really recognize the importance of this boulevard and its relationship to the waterfront and the relationship to the city. A building which is really about celebrating the life of being on a grand avenue, an axis that is critical in the city, but one that animates the ground plane in a very profound way. Cafes, event spaces, gardens, art spaces, a radical timber frame building. It also has these framed views that look to the communal forest garden.
And this forest commons really is accessible.
It's not a forest like the ones that you can explore outside of Toronto, but it gives you the feeling that you get from being there. It gives you that pleasure of smelling pine needles after rain, pleasure of hearing a bird, to be in a landscape that actually celebrates rain instead of just trying to hide it. It gives you that in your daily life, in your daily routine when you pick up your kids, and that is so important for life quality.
It's going to be Canada's first all-electric CHUVC zero carbon certified development at this scale, and that's going to have a huge positive impact. There's not going to be any added carbon to the atmosphere.
We've thought of an expression of the way the forest operates. We are designing the westernmost block, creates a sort of arm or an embrace for the communal forest. Tower design shouldn't spring from the need to make a new shape, should spring from the quality of life that it will offer to the residents. Things like ceiling heights and window proportions, how it operates as a piece of city fabric, and now how it operates to help nature have a foothold in this idea of an urban silhouette.
It's not a typical project where you have just buildings and then you put landscape or green stuff in the leftover space. Here it's a conversation and a synergy. And the landscape isn't just between the buildings, it's actually also on the buildings.
On the bar building, we were able to create an uninterrupted urban farm, and this will be a huge amenity.
The power of having an urban farm on the roof is this idea of production of food, and that's very exciting.
We've really thought about the destination aspect. How do you create something that really is going to excite people and bring them to the site? It's everything from the food emporium that we're thinking of, which might have a culinary school, incubator restaurants where chefs can really showcase their new ideas. Grocery that might involve international foods or a very local farm to table kind of food. That's what's really going to animate the ground plane. And I think doing it in the way where we go from neighborhood to destination is probably the most important piece of what we're trying to craft.
There's almost this sort of east-west neighborhood idea and north-south destination opportunity. So we know we have Parliament Basin, and we know that actually there might be a way of connecting that up Parliament Street and picking up the distillery district, which in itself is a destination.
This critical link between what's happening at the distillery to the north and what's happening at the lake to the south. The exciting thing about Quayside is that there is a real appetite and a desire to see it as a gateway to the waterfront.
It really is about creating a stimulus for the imagination of the future to explore the idea of creating a cultural destination so that it's not only truly sustainable, it really means a gathering place, a meeting place where people of all different backgrounds and cultures can come together.
The community care hub at Quayside is tremendously exciting because community care is intrinsic to a healthy community. It's not just the physical health of our community members, it's the mental health, it's the connectedness that exists between neighbors, from the young to the old, from newcomers to folks who have been here for many generations.
I think a great city is a city where people are smiling. Quayside, I think the Waterfront Toronto's come up with an incredible plan that the whole city can participate in. And then we hope to work with Waterfront Toronto to animate the whole community there in a way that includes everybody, because we do want to make our communities as strong as possible. We want the people that live in our communities to feel included in our society and to have a better opportunity than they would have if they weren't in our communities. The only way you get there is by having a city that includes everybody. So I think the best cities are cities that people feel proud of and feel that they belong in and they have a shared opportunity.
One foot in front of the other, one foot